This video is sponsored by SimpliSafe. More on that later. Hi! I'm up to 11 cars in my stead now, which means I now have more cars than chickens! Was that? Is that right? Unsurprisingly, a lot of my audience has lost track of what I do and don't have now, so it's time for a fleet update. Ah, heckin' body roll, man. Speed. And what better place to start than with my daily driver Coda. Coda number 1, the one that's in stock configuration. I've put 1,500 miles on this car so far, and it's been my number 2 go-to daily driver. You'll see number 1 in a second. And all I've had to do to keep it on the road is replace both front wheel bearings twice. That's reasonable, right? Joking aside, I really do like this Coda. It's just objectively not very good. I like it a lot, though. Legitimately, I do drive this almost every day. It's my go-to short trip car. I've even started to take it on some longer trips. And yes, I do still have the 2 CVT prototype cars. They're parts cars, and nothing has changed with them, so I'll move on. They're just sitting here waiting to be dismantled. Do you remember my Fiesta ST? My favorite car, my pride and joy, the thing that was a lot of fun in all situations? Well, last month, I unceremoniously dumped off my favorite car at CarMax. And my significant other, who had a Volvo XC90, she also dumped off her car unceremoniously at CarMax. And we combined the capital from selling those 2 cars together to buy our first joint purchase, which was that's right, we gone and bought a Volvo! It's a 2011 C30 T5 R design, and yes, it does have a 6-speed manual, and yes, it does have a turbocharged 2.5 liter 5-cylinder engine that makes all the right sounds. And yes, it does look amazing. The front looks good, but how about that butt? That's a nice butt. Now, I have a lot of things to say about this car, but that's for a future video. For now, all I'll say is, we got it for $8,000, it has 150,000 miles, and we love it. I like it a lot. The Yugo hasn't changed basically at all since I picked it up. I've been ordering parts for it and gathering parts like this steering rack here that's in this box, but nothing has changed. It's just sitting here waiting patiently for me to work on it. This is a sooner rather than later sort of project, so I'll get to it in the coming months, but for right now it just sits there waiting for me to work on it because I've been occupied by a much bigger project lately while the weather's been nice. The bus! I've been working on the bus again, and all I've been doing for the past 3 weeks or so is body work. You probably don't remember, for my daily video series last year, I started the process of what I called de-school busification. Basically just removing all of the rub bars off the side of the bus for 2 purposes. One, to fill in all of these screw holes that were leaking water, and also make it look a little bit less like a school bus. Now, I was under no assumption that the process of removing these rub bars and filling in all these screw holes and everything and making it look seamless would be easy or quick, but I didn't expect it to take this long. Like I already said, I've been working on this bus for the past 3 weeks or so, not non-stop, obviously. I've been stopping every 3 or 4 days to work on a video, but this is as far as I've gotten, and the other side is less finished than this side. So it's been a long process, and it's going to continue to be a long process, and my God, is it boring and tedious work. My hat goes off to all the body workers out there. And the worst part about all of this is that all of this process is going to result in like a minute of footage in the final video. It won't be much. And then when I finish all of this stuff, then I have to put in the sheet metal on the sides, finish enclosing the roof, enclose the back, put in all the windows, all that stuff. And then part 4 of the bus project series will come out. So it's going to be a while before you see part 4 of the bus project series. Just know that I'm actively working on the bus in between videos and as much as I can. The Robin, the 3-wheeled wonder, the fiberglass fiasco, the Blue suppository. If you don't count the pickup, this is my third most driven car. When it's not winter, I drive this thing probably 1 to 3 times per week. For what it is, I drive this thing fairly often. And it's still going strong. I just took this thing out of its winter hibernation a couple of weeks ago, and on the first test drive on the highway, I thought it was really down on power. And toward the end of that drive, it was so down on power, it started getting warm, it started coughing and choking and sputtering and doing all kinds of nasty engine sounds. But as it turned out, none of that was an issue because I made that whole drive with the handbrake on. Because I'm an idiot. So it ran just fine. Aside from that bit of idiocy, it did have 2 things that needed attention when I took it out of winter hibernation. For one, it had a fuel leak, but that's just because there was a loose bolt on the top of the mechanical fuel pump, so I tightened that and the fuel leak magically went away. And also I gave it a new air cleaner. But aside from those things, I haven't touched it. It's just been reliable and working and stuff. I do plan to work on this car in the future, make a project video or a series of project videos fixing all the little things that are wrong with this car, fixing up the interior, fixing the wiring issues, replacing the blower motor, the heater, and stuff like that. But because this car works so well as is, and it's perfectly drivable as is, it'll probably be a while before I get to that project series. I'm just going to keep driving it for now. I don't want to take this car off the road as a perfectly drivable car for a month or so to work on a bunch of little issues when I could just be driving the car. So that project series will probably wait a while, and I'll probably tackle it in the winter when I'm not driving this car. Anyway. Ew. Will it start? And then died immediately. The Durango. I bought this thing almost 2 years ago for the staggering price of... Uh-oh. 3, 2, 1. Who are you? What do you want? Oh, relax. I'm a burglar, but you don't have anything worth stealing, so I... Is that a flashlight? It's a deadly flash... What do you mean I don't have anything worth stealing? Look at all the cars in here. Yeah, about that. Have you seen these cars? That one doesn't even have 4 wheels. I'll have you know that most of these cars are quite rare. That's one of 99. Uh-huh. Are they worth anything? Well, to me... Great. So I'll just rock up to your shop in a car hauler, steal your 5.5 cars over here, and then sell it on the black market for a truckload of your sentimental value. What? There's got to be something in here worth stealing. How about the MacBook right in front of you? That's got to be worth something. This. Oh boy, a 10-year-old MacBook, covered in stickers no less. I can sell this and have enough money to buy a coffee pot. Okay, that's enough. I didn't come here to have my possessions mocked. Whatever. Anyway, how did you know I was in here? It's because I have SimpliSafe. I got an alert on my phone that an alarm was triggered. I saw you on that camera right over there, and SimpliSafe automatically called the police, who are on their way right now. Well, since the Rozzers are already coming to pick me up in their paddy wagon, we might as well conversate before they get here. So tell me more about this SimpliSafe system. Was it hard to set up? Okay, you don't need to keep mocking me. And no, not at all. It was super easy to set up. It came with a base station, it came with a keypad, a door lock, an entry sensor for every door in the shop. There was a glass break sensor, a camera, a couple of motion sensors. There was even a smoke alarm, a water sensor, and a freeze sensor. And everything is wireless. It sets up in seconds, and it sticks to the wall or wherever you mount it with double stick tape, so you don't need any tools to install anything. And everything, I got everything set up in less than an hour. Oh wow, that sounds like complete home monitoring, not just a security system, and it sounds like it was easy to set up. Was it expensive? No, you get 24/7 professional monitoring for just 50 cents per day. That's like half $1. All right, I'm sold. Where can I get it? Well, it just so happens you can use my link, simplisafe.com/agingwheels to learn more. Now, you know what? I want to order that as soon as I get home. There's no need. You can order on your phone right now. Besides, remember, you're not going home. You're going to jail. The police are coming. Right, the police or whatever. Do you by chance have SimpliSafe installed in your house yet? No, not yet. I only got this system in my shop installed like a couple of days ago, but so far he's gone. The house! Oh no! He stole my wife. Thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video. The Durango. I bought it almost 2 years ago for the staggering price of $500 with the plans to blow it up. in the same way that I blew up a Mitsubishi Lancer and a Honda Civic at the end of a destruction review. But the reason I never blew up the Durango is because I never found inspiration to write the script for the video, so I just didn't. And the script never got made, and the video never got made. So now this Durango just sits in my driveway, half stripped of paint because I got inspiration to write one silly video, but that's it. Every once in a while I'll go out and start the thing up just to see if it runs, and if it does run, well then I'll take it out for a little bit of abuse before parking it right back in its spot. Once or twice last year, I used it to haul sticks around the yard. And one time this last winter, when the rooster decided to start beating up on his hens, we used it as a chicken infirmary. She had a really nasty head wound on the back of her neck from the rooster consistently attacking her and pecking the back of her head, so we put her in here for a week to separate her from the flock and to let her heal up before reintroducing her to the flock. And it worked pretty well as a little chicken coop. We just rolled down the windows a little bit for some ventilation, and she used the driver's side footwell as a nesting box. And she seems to have remembered the Durango because she started freaking out as soon as I brought her over here. That was her week of solitary confinement. My pickup barely fits in here. Look at this. It's almost like it's not a tiny car. For those of you that don't know, this is my Ford F-150. My grandpa bought it new in 2006, but he had Parkinson's, and shortly after he bought this pickup, he lost the ability to drive. Then in 2009, when I turned 16, it became my first car, and I've had it ever since. Since then, it's developed some battle scars, and it has just shy of 100,000 miles. This big gouge here is where I scratched the side of it with the arm of the lift. I don't know where this dent came from, but it is deep in there. And all these scratches and dents on this side of the pickup are where a drunk man on a scooter ran into the side of the pickup in a muddy parking lot of a metal recycling yard. Really, he was there on a scooter because he was selling bundles of copper wire, and he lost his license, so he couldn't drive a car. He also couldn't legally drive a scooter either, but that didn't stop him. This pickup is now 15 years old, and as I already said, it has almost 100,000 miles. And a vehicle of this age needs some work done to it. I need to go through and replace all the fluids, like the coolant, the transmission, the transfer case, all of those different types of fluids. It needs some preventive maintenance things done to it, like spark plugs and probably cam phaser. I hear this engine is known for those two things being problematic, and it needs some general cleaning up. For instance, the headlights are a bit cloudy, and at one point I spilled an entire bottle of differential fluid in the back seat, so that would need cleaning up, and the interior needs some brightening up anyway. So that will be a job for some point in the future. It won't make for a very interesting video, but that stuff needs to be done, so that'll be happening probably this year. The Trabant. Now, it won't surprise you to learn that this is my least driven car, for obvious reasons. It's slow. Surprisingly, it is more comfortable than the Robin, if you can believe that, but it's still very slow. And most of the roads around me are highways, which this isn't very good with, so I don't take it out very often, but I still take it out when it's not winter about once a week. And it's a joy every time I take this thing out. It makes me feel bad for not driving it more often than I do, but again, most of the roads around me are highways, so when I do take it out, it's an A to A trip. I don't actually go anywhere useful most of the time. When I took this car out of its winter hibernation, the only thing I had to do was replace the 6-volt battery that, due to corrosion, the battery tender wasn't charging it anymore. But that's it. That's all I had to do. This car just continues to work reliably, which, given all the work that I've put into the engine bay and making it work mechanically well, I would sure hope so, but regardless, it continues to work reliably. Now, there are still a few issues with the wiring, but I don't really care to fix those right now, or maybe ever, and one of the wheel bearings in the back has developed a bit of a knock, so I'm probably going to have to replace both rear wheel bearings. You know how hard it is to say rear wheel bearings? Apparently not very, because I just said it twice without issue. The Wego is still dead. It has a dead battery pack in it. Still. Weird, it's almost like it hasn't fixed itself. Now it's time for odds and ends, parts of my fleet that are not vehicles but are still worth talking about. I got an electric zero-turn riding mower. Finally, I've been wanting an electric zero-turn riding mower just like this one for years now. Ryobi released this one back in December, and I got one this year, and I absolutely love it. I can't recommend it to absolutely everyone, but most people I think this would be absolutely great for. And yes, it is made by Ryobi. No, I don't have any affiliation with the company. I just love some of the things that they produce, like this. I'll make a video about this in the near future. There is one caveat that I'm not so keen on, but we'll talk about that in that video. My homemade truck camper is now thoroughly in the way in my shop, and I'm never going to use it again. This thing was frankly too taxing to use. It's too unaerodynamic, and it's a little bit too heavy for my pickup. So every time I was driving with this thing on its back, the pickup was just struggling, and I couldn't go above 65 miles an hour without feeling very uncomfortable. Every time I got behind a semi, it would sort of wave back and forth. I didn't really like using it. I only took it on 2 trips. I know I'm never going to use this thing again, but I had a lot of fun building it. And I'm glad I built it because, like I said, it was a lot of fun. So in the coming weeks or months, whenever I get around to it, I'm going to be dismantling this thing. I'll salvage all of the good parts like solar panels and the inverter and stuff out of it. I'll keep some of the materials like the steel I used to build the frame and recycle those into something else, and a lot of the rest of it I'll probably just throw away or burn. And because I never made a build series on this thing when I built it, I recorded almost none of building it. This will be a good opportunity to show you how I put this thing together by taking it apart and explaining all the things that I did wrong and some of the things I did right. The chickens! Now, I know that's not part of my fleet, but chickens. Anyway, it has not been a good year for the chickens. We've lost 5 so far this year, and we're down to 9 now. The first one we lost was this one's sister. This is a Buff Orpington, and we had a rooster who decided he did not like Buff Orpingtons anymore, and her sister was the first one to get attacked. He just kept pecking the back of her neck, attacking her whenever he got the chance, and eventually she died from these wounds. The back of her neck was all bloody. It was awful. And then this one came under attack next, and before he could kill her too, we killed the rooster. We turned him into soup, and this one got to live. As I mentioned earlier, we put her in the Durango as a chicken infirmary so she could heal up, and she's healed up nicely, and she has been reintroduced into the flock, and everything's fine now. Now the other 3, I'll let you down now since you seem to be wanting down. The other 3 came to more untimely endings. The little chicken that we called Salmon, that we liked very much, had little feathery feet and too many toes, she got her head pulled off through the fence by what we're assuming was a raccoon. What a horrible way to die. So to prevent this from ever happening again, we've lined the outside of this fence with chicken wire, so they can't stick their heads through it anymore. And both of our turkeys are gone too. We had big white turkeys, they were big goofballs, and the breed of turkey that we had was meant to be meat birds, so they were fat and waddly, but that made them more entertaining. Unfortunately, this is the only door to the run, and we left it open one night, and a raccoon got in there. Hi. And a raccoon got in there and killed one of them. And the second turkey died right here. Less than a week after the raccoons got the first one, they reached through the fence when the turkey was sleeping or resting or something and tore the skin off its backside. And she lived through it. So we had to end that turkey's life. That was horrible. But the rest of the chickens, they're doing fine. I've expanded the run a little bit so they can have some green grass to forage on. And they're doing great. No rooster anymore. We're going to have to get a new rooster, some more chickens, and maybe a couple turkeys this year. But the chickens we have, they're doing great. Especially Screamy there. All right, now if you excuse me, I've got a video to edit, this one, and I've got a bus to work on. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.